There's a certain kind of album people dare each other to listen to. Not because it's extreme in a loud way, no blast beats, no screaming, no jump scares, but because it's extreme in the quiet way. Everywhere at the End of Time is one of the most powerful works of art ever made, drenched in harrowingly poignant nostalgia and spanning 6 hours across 6 whole albums. Everywhere at the End of Time is a behemoth of an undertaking both to create and listen to. Everywhere at the End of Time is a project created over a 4-year period by James Leland Kirby, better known as The Caretaker. The project is the culmination of Kirby's lifelong fascination with memory, nostalgia, and ultimately the decay of both of these things in the neurodegenerative disease Alzheimer's. But Everywhere at the End of Time doesn't tell you about Alzheimer's, it simulates it. It's comprised of 6 albums, which correspond to 6 stages of dementia. The last 3 albums are the post-awareness stages, in which the condition has worsened to the point the patient forgets their own diagnosis. Stage 1 represents the initial signs of memory deterioration, and it's the closest album in the series to what Kirby calls a beautiful daydream. He went on to say that Stage 1 represents the glory of old age and recollection, and the last of the great days. We start with the song It's Just a Burning Memory. It's Just a Burning Memory is a degraded yet coherent sample from the 1931 song Heartaches. The sample is distant and the vocals are gone. The same 51-second progression is repeated for the whole 3.5-minute runtime. But this song will recur throughout later stages, even more degraded. Skipping over to the 5th track of Stage 1, we can catch a glimpse of degradation, with Slightly Bewildered featuring a sporadic needle skipping sound, which to me is coming across like trying to claw back a memory, feeling, or thought that you weren't aware is being degenerated and withering away. Stage 2 to Kirby is the self-realization that something is wrong, and a refusal to accept that. In Kirby's description, a person in this stage usually makes more attempts to recall than normal. In contrast with Stage 1's joyful sound, he noted that the second stage features a massive difference between the moods. Here we can see things beginning to dissipate, memories fading. Remember the first song from Stage 1? It returns as the 3rd song here, now more somber and degraded, but still recognizable. Here we see smearing ambience melt across the track with nostalgic ballroom instrumentation ebbing and flowing in tidal movements akin to a memory vanishing. Stage 3 presents, in Kirby's description, some of the last coherent memories before confusion fully rolls in and the grey mists form and fade away. A portion of the tracks possess an underwater-like sound, which then end abruptly, to portray the patient's growing despair and struggle to keep their memories. Track titles themselves also begin to deform, becoming abstract phrases such as "sublime beyond loss" and "internal bewildered world." We see Heartaches again by Al Bowlly return twice in this album, first appearing on track number 2, but lethargic and subdued, the familiarity smears into misty ambiguity. The next track, Hidden Sea Buried Deep, presents a harrowing dynamic of sunken and submerged instrumentation that clips out of range sporadically with a heavy, weighty needle skip. The track keeps hinting at structure, but the structure won't hold long enough to become reassuring, like the mind is producing the shape of familiarity without the ability to inhabit it. The last coherent version of Heartaches by Al Bowlly is found in track 12, Burning Despair Does Ache. By this point, the complete loss of all structure and order has happened. It is just coherent enough to feel the presence from stage 1, stage 2, but by this point the gradual decline of this leading motif has lost all meaning. Kirby frames stage 4 as the point where the ability to recall singular memories gives way to confusions and horror. The sound pivots from degraded ballroom loops into heavy distortion, huge reverb, and long noise-like collages. It's 4 side-length tracks, about 21 to 22 minutes each. The titles become cold, clinical, and eerie, with track 1 being called Post-Awareness Confusions, track 2 being called Post-Awareness Confusions, track 3 being called Temporary Bliss State, and track 4 being called Post-Awareness Confusions. We see the complete loss of order in all of these tracks. There are still memories, destroyed, faded, and tragically losing a place in the mind, but there are still semblances of what once was. Stage 5 pushes the same forces further, more extreme entanglement and rupture, occasionally opening into calmer patches that feel eerie rather than comforting. The big shift is how melody is treated, where earlier stages degrade coherent music, stage 5 crosswires it, samples collide and overlap violently, crashing into each other. Again, the track titles retain this clinical, eerie, and cold feeling. Track 1 is called Advanced Plaque Entanglements, track 2 is called Advanced Plaque Entanglements, track 3 is called Synapse Retrogenesis, and track 4 is called Sudden Time Regression into Isolation. The language points straight at Alzheimer's concepts. Amyloid plaques, tangles, synapses, retrogenesis, like the record is labeling what's happening to the brain as the listener experiences it. Stage 6. Kirby describes stage 6 in a single line. Post-awareness stage 6 is without description. It's the most abstract and interpretive part of the whole project. Collages form a kind of void where music can still be heard, but distant, very distant, like you're listening from the bottom of a well. Compared to Stage 5's snippets and entanglements of voices and instruments, Stage 6 is mostly drowned out ambience. Hiss, crackle, smear, emptiness. Some listeners interpret this as apathy, not peace, but the flattening of response. The final track, Place in the World Fades Away, rides on organ drones that some people liken to interstellar-style grandeur. Then it collapses into a needle drop. About 6 minutes before the end, the series hits its climax, and suddenly a clear choir, sourced from a degraded record, breaking through the fog. I think this moment in the album is definitively one of the most heartbreaking moments in any form of art. For almost 3 hours, from stages 4, 5 and up until this point in 6, you would have been hearing slowly as music was degraded and spliced and tangled in a way that it becomes essentially a void, a space, hollow. You wouldn't have heard a clear sound like this for almost 3 hours. The choir moment gets interpreted in many different ways, but the most common reading, including among medical commentators, is terminal lucidity, a brief return of clarity shortly before death in many neurological conditions. After that, there's a full minute of silence, which a lot of people read as the death of the patient. So what do you do with something like this? Because after 6 hours you don't really finish Everywhere at the End of Time the way that you would finish a conventional album. You come out of it like you've been in an experiment. Your brain's still trying to grab onto melodies that aren't there anymore. And you'll realise that the kind of dare to listen to the album, it was never the point. The point is that Leland Kirby made a piece of art that behaves genuinely like a disease. But not in the cheap metaphorical way. It doesn't just get worse no matter what you want. It's in the way that you can't argue with it. It will give you hope, but then it will take it away. Your effort won't fix this. That's the cruelty at the core of Dementia, and it's the sorrowfulness at the core of this album. And that's why the hardest part of Everywhere at the End of Time isn't actually the noise. It's not the sonic value of the album, but it's the hope. It's recognizing a tune in stage 2 and feeling relief, because it's still there. And then watching that relief become part of the horror, because the album trains you into understanding what caretakers and families learn in real life. Those little returns aren't recoveries, they're just flickers. That last choir in Place in the World Fades Away hits the gut for exactly that reason, because it's not triumphant, it's not cinematic. It's almost worse than the collapse, because it reminds you of what's been missing. It's like the brain tries to stand up one final time, and for a second it does, and then it doesn't, with that silence. It's a full minute where for previously 6 hours there has been constant noise, where the project refuses to entertain you. There's no credits, there's no comforting chord, it doesn't resolve. It's just a blank space where sound used to be. And if you've made it there, you'll understand what this album is for.
Your kiss was such a sacred thing to me. I can't believe it's just a burning memory.